Okay, let's be real for a second. Have you ever noticed how some people go through really hard things and somehow they still keep moving forward, while others face one problem and feel stuck for a very long time? Like, two people can go through the same kind of situation. They both fail, they both feel disappointed, they both feel tired, but one of them slowly finds a way to continue and the other just stops trying. For a long time, I thought the difference was confidence, or talent, or even luck. But the more I watch people, and the more I think about it, the more I realize it's mostly about what people tell themselves after something goes wrong. Because the moment something doesn't work out, your brain starts talking. It starts creating a story. Some people say, okay, this really hurts, but what can I do next? Other people say, of course this happened to me. Things never work out for me anyway. Same situation, same pain, but a totally different direction. And by the way, I really don't like the words loser and winner, because we all have moments where we're doing great and moments where we feel like we're failing at everything. So this is not about labeling people. It's about habits of thinking that slowly shape your decisions, your actions, and eventually your whole life. Because when you hear the same negative story in your head every day, you start believing it. And when you believe it, you stop expecting better things. And when you stop expecting better things, you stop trying as hard. A lot of people are not stuck because they are lazy. They are stuck because they are emotionally tired, tired of trying, tired of hoping, tired of getting excited about things and then feeling disappointed again. So their brain starts choosing comfort instead of change, not because they don't want a better life, but because staying where you are feels safer than risking another failure. And honestly, that makes sense. Your brain is trying to protect you from pain. But the problem is, comfort can slowly turn into a cage. It feels safe, but it also keeps you in the same place. And then there's comparison, which makes everything even harder. You open your phone and you see people your age starting businesses, getting married, traveling, reaching goals, and you're just trying to survive your week. So instead of thinking, let me focus on my next small step, you start thinking, what's the point? I'm already behind. And that thought is dangerous because it doesn't just hurt your feelings, it changes your behavior. You stop applying, you stop starting, you stop believing your effort will matter. But here's something really important that people don't talk about enough. People who move forward are not more confident. They are not magically more motivated. They are just more used to feeling uncomfortable. They're used to failing and still showing up again. They're used to not knowing what they're doing and learning along the way. They still get scared. They still overthink. They still doubt themselves, probably more than you think. The difference is, they don't wait for those feelings to disappear before they take action. They apply for the job even though their heart is racing. They start the project even though they don't feel ready. They speak up even when they're scared of being judged. And when something doesn't work out, they don't turn it into a story about their identity. They don't say, I always fail, I'm just bad at this. They say, okay, that didn't work. What can I change next time? Not emotional, just practical. And that mindset doesn't mean they never feel bad. It just means they don't let one bad moment decide their future. Because at the end of the day, the story you tell yourself really matters. Some people tell themselves, I'm just not the kind of person who succeeds. Others tell themselves, I'm not there yet, but I'm learning. And those two sentences might sound small, but they lead to completely different lives. One makes you slowly give up without even noticing. The other keeps you trying, adjusting, and growing. And you know what's really interesting? Most people don't actually quit all at once. They quit slowly, they stop trying new things, they stop expecting change, they stop believing the effort will make a difference. On the outside, it just looks like they're being realistic. But on the inside, they're slowly giving up on the idea that their life can be better. And the scary part is, this can happen to anyone. It's not about being weak, it's about being tired for a long time without seeing results. That's why small wins matter more than people think. Not because they change your whole life overnight, but because they remind your brain, hey, I can still move forward. Even something small, like finishing one task, sending one email, or starting one tiny habit, can slowly rebuild your confidence. Because confidence doesn't come before action. It comes after you prove to yourself that you can keep going. Another thing people don't talk about is how much fear controls our decisions. Not big dramatic fear, but quiet fear. Fear of failing again. Fear of being judged. Fear of realizing you tried your best and it still didn't work. So sometimes people choose not to try, because at least then they can tell themselves, I could have done better if I really tried. but that thought keeps you stuck in the same place. Moving forward means accepting that sometimes you will try and it still won't work. And that doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It just means you're human. And honestly, the people who seem strong are usually just people who have failed a lot and kept going anyway. They didn't win because they were special. They became strong because they didn't stop. And here's something else that might sound strange. Sometimes people stay stuck because they are scared of changing. Not because change is bad, but because change means leaving behind the version of yourself that feels familiar. Even if that version is unhappy, at least it's predictable. Growing means your routine changes, your identity changes, sometimes even your relationships change, and that can feel uncomfortable, even scary. So your brain says, let's just stay here, at least we know what to expect. But staying the same also has a cost. It just feels quieter. So if you ever feel like you want more, but you're also scared to move, that doesn't mean you're ungrateful or lazy. It just means you're standing in that uncomfortable space between who you are and who you could become. And that space is not easy, but it's also where growth happens. So if right now you feel behind or lost or unsure, that doesn't mean you're failing at life. It just means you're in the middle of your story, not the end of it. And the people who move forward are not the ones who never feel this way. They're the ones who keep going even while feeling this way. So yeah, some people call this loser and winner theory. But I think it's really about whether you stay on your own side when things get hard, or whether you turn against yourself. Because life is already difficult. You don't need to make it harder by believing you can't grow. No one has a perfect path. Everyone is figuring things out while making mistakes at the same time. You don't need to suddenly become super confident, fearless, or successful. You just need to keep choosing not to quit on the version of you that's still trying, even when progress feels slow. Because even slow progress is still progress, and honestly, that already means more than you think. See you in the next video!